Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku and Momo Became Fake Couple and Fell in Love with Each Other Part 2. Before we start, please go support cismomusic for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Deku is a male. Chapter 15. I Know His Lie. They both separated from the kiss with their faces very flushed, looking into each other's eyes. Momo: I'm the first girl you kissed. Izuku: and I'm the first boy you kissed. Momo: I know, but I don't regret giving my first kiss to you. That's why. She again approached Izuku's lips, joining their lips again in a kiss more passionate than the first. They both felt their hearts racing at the moment. They just didn't want that moment to end. They wanted to continue feeling that beautiful sensation that the other's lips caused them. Izuku just held her against his body, tenderly grabbing her waist. This kiss was longer than the first. After a few minutes they had to separate due to lack of air. They both had their foreheads together. Momo: that kiss was for saving me in the pool. Sorry for hitting you that time. I'm sorry, he whispered softly. Izuku: you hit me twice. I guess I deserve one more kiss, don't you think? Momo had a beautiful blush and could only say, Baka. It's wrong if. Izuku: yes. Momo was about to speak when there was a knock on Izuku's bedroom door. The two young men quickly separated. Izuku: yes? Behind the door, Mr. Yaoyorozu said. I'm sorry, Izuku, for bothering you at this hour, but I need to talk to you, boy. Izuku: I'll open the door for you. Momo: well, I'd better go to my room. Izuku: yes. They were both blushing. Momo tenderly approached Izuku and gave him a tender kiss on the cheek, saying, See you tomorrow. She was still quite close to Izuku. Both of them looked at each other as if they didn't want to have to separate. Momo gave a slight smile and gave him a short but tender kiss on the lips, which Izuku reciprocated. He helped the brunette to get to the other side of the balcony, and then went to open the door to Momo's father. Mr. Yaoyorozu: sorry to bother you, Izuku. I'm sorry to interrupt your sleep. Izuku: oh, it's okay, I was awake. Mr. Yaoyorozu: I see. You couldn't sleep? Izuku: yes, something like that. Mr. Yaoyorozu: I understand you, that happens to me sometimes. Come on, let's go outside for a while to get some fresh air so we'll be more comfortable talking. Izuku, somewhat nervous, replied. All right. They both started walking through the hallways. Izuku was very nervous because he didn't know what they could talk about. Momo's father noticed this and said, Calm down, boy, we're just going to talk about something. Don't get so nervous as if you'd done something so bad. Meanwhile, Momo was in her room with her face all flushed, remembering over and over again what had happened a moment ago. Momo: we kissed. The brunette covered her face with a pillow while blowing smoke through her ears. Momo: her lips were so warm. She couldn't get rid of the feeling of the freckled boy's lips on hers. Just remembering that kiss made her heart race faster. Momo: if I don't regret giving you my first kiss, Izuku, I want you to kiss me again, Baka. That kiss was enough to make me realize what I really feel for you. In the same way, as he went down the stairs of the enormous house, Izuku was thinking about the jet black ships. Remembering his words, I don't regret giving my first kiss to you. Just kiss me, Izuku. Those words never left the freckled man's head. After a few minutes they were outside the house, walking slowly through its enormous patio. Both were in total silence. For Izuku it was an uncomfortable silence. He looked sideways at Mr. Yaoyorozu, who only showed a slight smile. Izuku: what do you want to talk about, Mr. Yaoyorozu? Mr. Yaoyorozu: wait until we get to the garden fort. In fact, in the middle of the garden there was a beautiful water fountain. Izuku just nodded his head and they continued walking until they reached it. They both sat down and looked at the beautiful moon of the night. Mr. Yaoyorozu: it's a nice night, don't you think, kid? Izuku: yes, I guess. Mr. Yaoyorozu: and how do you feel? Izuku: how does that feel? Lord Yaoyorozu: have your own harem. Izuku: huh? Mr. Yaoyorozu: I heard that girl Lisbeth's statement, and that of Eris. You are certainly very lucky, boy, he said with his eyes full of stars at this, as if he was fascinated with the idea. Izuku in his thoughts would say, I'm sorry, Momo, since today I lost respect for your father. Mr. Yaoyorozu, my daughter will definitely have a lot of competition if she wants to beat the other two girls. When I was younger, I wish I had your luck, Izuku. But I guess your decision between the three girls is obvious, right? Well, who knows, emotions are very complicated to understand. The hardest part will come when you have to give your answer, so as not to hurt the girls. Izuku knew he was right. It would be difficult not to hurt the girls with his decision, especially Lisbeth, since she was not ashamed to admit that she has feelings for him. Mr. Yaoyorozu, I think this bet is the best thing that happened to my daughter. Izuku, huh? What does this refer to? Mr. Yaoyorozu, having competition will mean she will have to work harder to completely win your heart. After all, it's not like she doesn't have feelings for you. Apparently, he ended up falling in love with his lie. At those words, Izuku opened his eyes wide. Izuku, what are you talking about, sir? Mr. Yaoyorozu, come on, boy. It's obvious that you two are in a relationship. It's clear that you lie. Izuku was speechless upon hearing those words. Momo's father just gave a slight smile, saying, I know my daughter. I know when she is lying to me. I played along with her lie to see if she was able to keep up the whole farce, but with what happened between you tonight, it is more than obvious that this lie tends to become a reality, or am I wrong? Izuku blushed, knowing what he meant. He very nervously asked, Did you see us? Mr. Yaoyorozu, yes, I saw them. And I don't think that kiss is something that can be faked just like that, kid. To be honest, I really like you, Izuku. So please keep taking care of my Momo. I bet you have feelings for her too, and that kiss cleared all your fingers. Izuku lowered his head, somewhat embarrassed. Mr. Yaoyorozu, well, that was all I wanted to talk about. Oh, by the way, don't tell Momo anything about the fact that I know about his lie. Yes, I want to keep seeing how all this goes, boy. Izuku, okay. Mr. Yaoyorozu just turned around and started walking slowly towards the mansion, but stopped dead at the freckled man's question. Izuku, aren't you angry that she and I lied to you? Mr. Yaoyorozu, of course not, boy, I'm happy. They reminded me of myself. After all, I also lied when I was younger to avoid marrying a girl my parents introduced me to. I told you that my best friend and I were in a relationship, and well, look at me now. I ended up marrying her, and I have a beautiful daughter whom I love. They are my most valuable treasures in this world. I guess I fell for that lie too, and it was the best lie I could tell. After saying those words, he turned around and continued on his way. Chapter 16. Let the trip to the beach begin. Izuku could only stand there watching the man who had discovered them and who still supported them in everything, the man who shared part of his life with him that night, walked away. His words could not have been clearer or more precise. That kiss he had given the brunette had cleared up all doubts about his feelings. What he feared so much had come true. He had begun to fall in love with that brunette who until recently was only a classmate, but now he knew that he could no longer see her that way. At least not after everything they had been through together, after those smiles and glances they exchanged as the days went by. How was it possible that a lie could change his life so much? That was the question the freckled boy asked himself. How was it possible that that dark-haired girl had turned his world upside down in just a few days? He certainly couldn't deny that he had feelings for Momo, and even less so now after that kiss, no. Less so now that the ebony was and always will be his first kiss. What he had hoped to do with a certain brunette he ended up doing with the dark-haired girl he was slowly falling in love with. Maybe his feelings before were not love but something more, because what Momo made him feel was different from what he felt for Uraraka. Two different feelings married in a single heart that until a day ago was confused, but now it was more than clear that he wanted to continue lying. If Izuku wanted to continue lying with that brunette, he wanted to continue being by her side. He wanted to continue holding his hand and wanted to taste Momo's lips once more. And when the day comes when the lie comes to an end, it will not be because everything comes to light, but because on that day the lie will become reality. Izuku just gave a whisper saying, "TCH, in the end I ended up falling in love with your lie, Momo." But I don't regret anything. After saying this last thing, the green-haired boy began to walk back into the mansion, heading to his room. Once inside, he lay down on the huge bed, looking at the ceiling of the room, remembering his kiss as Momo. His face turned red and he closed his eyes, trying to sleep because it was impossible for him. The image of Momo came to his mind. He looked towards the balcony, wondering if he went out maybe he would see her like he had a moment ago. It was simple. He wanted to see her again. He wanted to hug her. He wanted to be with her. In the dark-haired girl's room, she also thought the same thing. She wanted to go out to the balcony again. She wanted to see him. She wanted to be with that green-haired man who took over her lips in a tender kiss. They both had that doubt, but in the end they decided to close their eyes and sleep because they knew that tomorrow they would see each other, and maybe they could repeat that kiss. Because they both wanted to do it, there was no longer any doubt. The next day they were both awakened by the rays of the sun coming through the windows. Both young men washed their faces and everything else. Izuku, upon leaving his room, for some reason turned his gaze to his left side, meeting the brunette who had just left her room. And so, if it were by fate, their eyes met once. Two souls complicit in love, born in a certain way, once again found each other. They both had a slight blush. Momo, good morning, Izuku. Izuku, gee, good morning, Momo, he said, more nervous than ever. Momo noticed this and found it strange, since he never acted like that when he was with her. She was about to approach him, but Izuku said, "Well, I'll go to the room early." After saying that, he walked down the halls, blushing a lot, because how would he see her now after that kiss? After he had made his feelings clear, he couldn't help but get nervous around her anymore. Momo became a little sad. It seemed like he was avoiding her, and that hurt her. She just asked herself, "Perhaps? Did he regret kissing me?" That simple question caused a slight pain in his chest. Arriving in the room downstairs, Izuku found the others already having breakfast. Lisbeth, seeing Izuku, approached him and gave him a tender kiss on the cheek, saying, "Good morning, Izuku-kun." She gave him a kind smile. Eris, who was in the same room, saw this and smiled slightly because she knew that the game for the green-haired man's heart had already begun. "Kaken, come sit down, nerd. Breakfast is delicious, right?" "Ethan, yes, Bakugo is right." "Mr. Yaoyorozu, good morning, boy. Please sit down. By the way, you don't know if my daughter is awake yet." "Izuku, and yes, she's already woken up. She'll be down soon." Lisbeth noticed Izuku's nervousness, so she knew something had happened between them. She took him by the arm and sat him next to her to have breakfast. Mrs. Yaoyorozu noticed this, and looked at her husband, who only looked away. Momo went down to see Izuku sitting next to Lisbeth, which made her a little upset. She sat down with the others. After having breakfast, Mr. Yaoyorozu stood up from his place, saying, "Well, Momo and Izuku, today is a great day, so we decided that we would go to the beach. Of course your friends are welcome to go with us. What do you think of the idea?" Momo blushed when she thought that they were going to the beach because she knew that Izuku would see her in a swimsuit, but she wanted him to be the only one who saw her. She also wanted to spend more time with him. "Lisbeth, what a lovely idea. Can we really go too?" "Mr. Yaoyorozu, of course." Bakugo and Ethan looked at each other, saying, "This opportunity is perfect for." "Bet," they said at the same time. "Mr. Yaoyorozu, by the way, Eris, you will also come with us." "Eris, thank you very much. I'll have to buy a swimsuit." "Lisbeth, perfect. We can go shopping together. What do you think?" Eris accepted the idea. "Mr. Yaoyorozu, well, I'll tell one of my drivers to take you in the limousine. You guys can also go get what you need for this trip. We will stay in our little summer house. We will only return on Monday, so we will spend the weekend there." "Izuku, don't worry, we will inform your mother, okay?" Izuku, understood. "Mr. Yaoyorozu, well then it's decided." In this way 2 hours passed and the boys again gathered in the mansion. Eris and Lisbeth had already compared their swimsuits, as well as Momo, who was in doubt because she wanted to look pretty for Izuku, and she also did not want to lose against her two rivals, who were pretty. Izuku, Bakugo, and Ethan already had their suitcases with clothes and things they needed. "Mr. Yaoyorozu, well, it's time to leave. Let's get in the limousine. Everyone went up. Izuku was sitting next to Bakugo. Momo noticed how the green-haired man avoided looking at her. She didn't know why. Half an hour had passed, and they arrived at a place where a private plane was waiting for them. Izuku, huh? Weren't we going to the beach? Mr. Yaoyorozu, yes, the beach we are going to is on an island called Kaoru. Note: this island is invented for the plot of the story. End of note. Mr. Yaoyorozu, it's a very beautiful island, you're going to love it. Let's get on the plane. The boys agreed and went up. Lisbeth was sitting next to Izuku since she had won the spot from the brunette. After about 2 hours they had reached their destination. The island was very large and beautiful. We can see our protagonists arriving at the Yaoyorozu summer house. Well, in other words, the summer mansion, since for the others the word house did not apply to what they were seeing with their eyes. Once they left their things in their rooms, everyone got changed to go to the beach. The first to arrive at the beach were the boys together with Mr. Yaoyorozu. They brought umbrellas and those things for their stay at the beach. Mrs. Yaoyorozu and the girls were changing, so the others had gone ahead. When they arrived at the beach, they saw that there were many people enjoying the beautiful scenery. The boys were amazed at how beautiful the place was. Mr. Yaoyorozu, see, I told you that you were going to love this place. At that point they heard voices saying, Sorry for the delay. Chapter 17, Why I Fell in Love with Your Lie. Izuku, in those voices, turned around and found Eris, Lisbeth and Momo, who had their swimsuits on. The three girls were blushing. Without thinking, Eris approached Izuku somewhat shyly and said, Izuku, how does it look on me? The blonde was wearing a beautiful black swimsuit, which highlighted her blue eyes. She had a beautiful body. Izuku, blushing a little, would say, It suits you well, Miss Eris. Eris gave a kind smile, surprising everyone, saying, I'm glad you liked it. I chose it just for you. She took Izuku by the arm, saying, Come on, let's go swim a little. She took Izuku away, leaving Momo already quite upset. Seeing how Eris was carrying him by the arm, Momo's chest hurt because she was afraid that they would take her green hair away from her. Kaken extended his hand to Ethan, saying, Come on, pay. I told you the blonde would make the first move. Bakugo had a satisfied smile. Ethan took money out of his pants pocket and gave it to Bakugo, saying, You just got lucky this time. I bet my sister will win the next game. Bakugo, let's bet then. Mr. Yaoyorozu in his thoughts would say, Well, I see that Eris is not willing to lose. Good luck, daughter, you have a lot of competition. Although he went with his wife to walk along the beach, Bakugo and Ethan were sitting under the shade of an umbrella, having 2 folding chairs. They were talking about who of the girls would win. Momo was somewhat annoyed to see how Izuku was spending more time with Eris. She wanted to show him the swimsuit she had bought for Izuku. Eris and Izuku were in the water cooling off a bit. She couldn't help but look at the freckled boy's toned body. She remembered that rainy day when Izuku had been kind to her. This one said, Thanks for giving me your jacket that day, Izuku. Izuku, oh, it's nothing. I didn't want you to catch a cold. I would have felt bad if something happened to you. Even though we barely knew each other, something inside told me that you are a good person. He gave her a warm smile. Eris felt a lump in her throat upon hearing those words because all those things had to be happening to her at that moment. Why did he suddenly become interested in meeting him? Why did he have to be like that? Eris, do you think I should buy you some ice cream to thank you for that day? She said while pointing to a small ice cream shop on the outskirts of the beach. Izuku, okay, but I won't let you go alone. The green-haired boy extended his hand to her. Eris met those emerald eyes that intrigued her so much. The kindness that characterized the green-haired boy gradually confused the blonde. She gave a slight smile and held the green-haired man's hand. They both got out of the water and headed towards that ice cream shop. This didn't go unnoticed by a certain brunette. Momo got up and started walking along the beach somewhat sad, because she couldn't get angry with Izuku after all she had involved him in that bet. A bet that he was regretting because he had to see Izuku 1 week with Eris and another with Lisbeth, said weeks in which if he had not accepted the bet he could have time alone with Izuku. Izuku and Eris were arriving at the store. Eris turned around and told Izuku to wait for her. She was going to buy ice cream and come back. The freckled boy accepted and stayed under the shade of a palm tree. Several young girls passed by the place, and when they saw Izuku they blushed because the green-haired boy had his charm. Some of them approached him and talked to him to ask for his phone number. Izuku was a little nervous because it was the first time that several girls approached him to ask him for something like that. Izuku was about to speak when he saw Eris with 2 ice creams and 2 boys were next to her. Without thinking, the freckled boy went to where she was. Boy 1, hey honey, don't you want to go for a walk with us? Boy 2, if you want, we can buy you all the ice cream you want. Aria had a neutral look. She was about to speak but would be interrupted by Izuku, who said, "Come on, Eris." He looked at the boys and said, "Do you have any problem with her?" The freckled man showed a serious look. Both boys said, "No, friend, we thought she was alone and we invited her out, but I see that you are her boyfriend, so we are leaving. We don't want any problems." Both boys left, leaving Izuku and Eris alone. Eris blushed because they thought she and Izuku were dating. "Izuku, are you okay?" "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left you alone." "Well, it's normal for something like that to happen. You were very pretty, so it was obvious that you would attract the boys' attention." Eris had a beautiful red tint on her cheeks, but she replied, "Yes, I'm fine and thank you for coming for me." She showed a tender smile. "Izuku, before we leave I'll buy ice cream for the others." After a few minutes they were heading towards the others with ice cream. "Izuku, thank goodness, I still remember the likes of Lisbeth and Ethan." They arrived with the boys. Lisbeth was sitting with them. Izuku noticed that Momo was not with them. "Izuku, we brought you ice cream." "Ethan, these are?" "Izuku, if I remember correctly, these are your favorite flavors, right?" Lisbeth smiled tenderly, saying, "I'm glad to know that you still think about us." "Izuku, and where is Momo?" "Bakugo, she went for a walk on the beach." "Izuku, I see. I'll go get her. You can have my Eris ice cream until I get back." The blonde nodded her head. "Izuku, I'll be right back. I'm going to look for Momo." He walked away from his friends. On the other hand, a certain black-haired woman was sitting next to some huge rocks that were far from the beach, when she felt someone coming towards her. She turned around and found a boy with light brown hair like her eyes. He was almost the same height as her. The boy, seeing her, greeted her kindly and asked, "What are you doing here alone, young lady?" "Momo, well, what happens is that I wanted to get away from the others." The boy sat almost next to her, saying, "I understand you. Sometimes I also come to this place to be more calm. The sound of the waves relaxes me." "Momo, you're right, it's very calming." "Boy, excuse my manners, my name is Chris Bell. I'm a foreigner, in case you're wondering." I smile kindly. "Momo, nice to meet you, I'm Momo Yaoyorozu." They started a friendly conversation because the boy had no bad intentions. The minutes passed and they remained in the same place. Izuku was arriving at the place where they were because he had asked if they had seen the brunette. He could see how Momo smiled along with that boy. He felt a pain in his chest and at the same time a feeling of annoyance. The boy stood up, saying, "Well, I guess I have to go. It was nice talking to you." "Momo, I say the same." "Chris, maybe this is a bit daring since we just met, but I was wondering if you'd like to go get some ice cream with me." "Don't think I have other intentions. I just wanted to thank you for the conversation we had just had." The brunette stood up and was about to respond but felt a hand grab her right arm and pull her in until she collided with the warmth of a body that was already familiar to her. Some arms held her firmly and carefully at the same time, then a voice said, "I'm sorry, but she's mine and no one else's." Momo opened her eyes wide when she recognized that voice. That green-haired man was hugging her with jealousy, yes. It was easy to notice his jealousy in his voice and in his look. "Chris, I see, it's a shame. I just wanted to thank you. I never had any other intentions, but I see that your boyfriend loves you very much. Anyway, I'm leaving. I don't want to cause you any problems." The young man said goodbye with a kind smile, leaving the two young people alone. Momo did not separate from Izuku because she did not want to do so. She said in a low voice, Why are you so jealous? Izuku, because I'm afraid that someone will take you away from me, because I want you to be mine and not one else's. Because I love you, Momo. Those words made the brunette's heart race. She felt her chin gently lifted. Their eyes met once again. She felt her lips and her met again in a tender kiss. But this kiss was as if at that moment they were signaling a bond of love between them. Momo just closed her eyes, reciprocating that kiss, intertwining her fingers with his. As they separated, they brought their foreheads together. Izuku, why? I fell in love with your lie, Momo. Chapter 18. Accepting Your Feelings. Because I fell in love with you, Momo, so much that I want to be the only one in your life. The only one who kisses and tastes your lips. I want to spend my days with the woman I truly love. I can no longer lie to my heart when I'm near you. I can no longer, and I do not want to continue hiding my feelings for you. After saying those words, the green-haired man was hugged by the brunette who had tears in her eyes. These were tears of happiness. Momo, you don't know how happy you make me, Izuku. I too can't hide what you make me feel. I too fell in love with this lie. I too fell in love with you so much that I don't want to see you with anyone else but me. Izuku reciprocated the hug. When they separated, they gave each other such a warm kiss on the lips, a kiss that was reciprocated with great love from the other. They both separated, leaving their foreheads together. The brunette, without taking her eyes off the green-haired girl, said, I thought you regretted kissing me. Izuku, huh? Why did you think that? Momo, it's just that you were avoiding me all day and that's why I thought you didn't like me. Izuku, you sure know how to make me fall in love with you, Momo. I won't lie, I didn't know how to look at your face after we kissed. Since I had accepted my feelings for you, and that's why I didn't know how to look at your face without getting nervous. Momo, so that was it. No. I will never regret having told that lie. How ironic, right? I fell completely in love with a lie, and I came to love you with all my heart, Baka. She was very blushing, but she looked really cute. Izuku looked at her carefully, seeing how beautiful she looked in her swimsuit. He had to admit that she was very beautiful. She had a nice body. The green-haired boy blushed slightly and looked away. Momo, what's wrong? Izuku, you look really beautiful in that swimsuit. Momo timidly asked. Are you serious? Izuku, yes, so much that it makes me want to kiss you. Momo blushed deeply at those words, saying, Thank you, I'm glad you liked my swimsuit. I wanted to look beautiful just for you. Izuku, you will always be beautiful in my eyes, Momo. The green-haired man took her hand, saying, Come on, let's go with the others, they'll be waiting for us, love. That last word accelerated the brunette's heart. Now that simple word made her happy, because she knew it was with a feeling mutual to hers. Momo grabbed the green-haired boy's hand, saying, Yes, we go, my life. She smiled kindly at him, her smile showing an immense happiness that he had never seen before. They began to walk until they reached the others, who smiled at them when they saw them. Liz saw how they were holding hands, which bothered her a little because she was losing the battle against the Azbek. Eris just gave a slight smile, knowing that it wouldn't be easy to win the green-haired man's heart. Bakugo, finally they arrived, lovebirds, the ice creams are almost melting. He gave them both the ice cream after eating a little. Ethan pointed in a direction on the beach where there was a net to play volleyball. Ethan, what do you say we play a little game? Everyone agreed. Lisbeth, but before we go to play we must put on sunscreen. She looked at Izuku, saying, Help me put it on, Izuku. Izuku in his thoughts would say, Damn, it's me, that sentence sounded very erotic. Izuku, but you can't do it alone. Lisbeth shook her head tenderly. Momo knew of Liz's intentions, so she grabbed the sunscreen, saying, Come, Liz, I'll help you. Liz, no thanks, I want Izuku to help me. Momo, I'm afraid that won't be possible. They both looked at each other, sparks flying. Liz looked at Izuku to tell him something but saw how he was with Eris. She had asked him to help her with the sunscreen, since she couldn't put it on her back. Izuku, somewhat embarrassed, accepted, and the blonde laid down to make it easier for the green-haired man. Izuku, oh okay, here I go. He put some sunscreen on his hands and touched Eris's back, who blushed madly when she felt his touch. Izuku raised his hand, closing his eyes so as not to see her, because Eris herself was pretty and had a nice body. The green-haired man in his thoughts would say, "If I don't see her, it's not cheating, right?" I have heard a small moan from the blonde. "Izuku, don't make those kinds of sounds." "Eris, I'm sorry, it's just that your hands feel so good." "Izuku, please don't make this more awkward," he said as he watched Momo and Liz look at him with a murderous aura. "Liz, Izuku, you don't want to help me, but you do want to help Miss Eris. I wonder why you give her that special treatment," Hashi said somberly. "Momo, darling, you and I will have to talk after all." "Izuku, stop saying such scary things." Since there were 6, they formed teams of 3. On Izuku's team were Lisbeth and Eris. They started playing volleyball, having a little fun. Izuku's team was winning by a couple of points. Bakugo gave his best because he was very competitive and didn't want to lose against his friend. At one point, Ethan threw the ball against Izuku's team. He and Lisbeth ran at the same time, focused on not letting the opposing team score, and they collided with each other. Fortunately, Eris was able to hit the ball over the net. They both fell to the ground. Izuku had his eyes closed, and in his thoughts he would say, what is this? I fell on something or on the sand. I never thought the sand on the beach could be so warm and soft." He took a breath and heard a somewhat heavy breathing. "Izuku, He opened his eyes, seeing how his face was on Lisbeth's breasts. The brunette was very blushed, and her breathing was heavy. This would say, "Izuku, we see can't do it here, there are people around us. At least wait until night, Baka." Izuku blushed as much as he could. He quickly separated, and when he was about to speak he was hit in the face by the volleyball falling against the sand. Momo from the other side of the net would say, "I'm sorry, love, the ball slipped from my hands," he said while emanating a purple aura from his body. Bakugo couldn't help but laugh. Ethan extended his hand as he said, Pay. Bakugo, TCH, you got lucky for this extra time." Ethan, yeah, whatever you say," he said as he put the money in his pocket. Izuku was still lying with his face in the sand, saying, "I deserved it." After that they continued playing, but the rivalry between Momo and Lisbeth was more noticeable in the game. In the end, the winning team was Izuku's. The young people sat under the shade of the umbrellas to rest while drinking something cold. Chapter 19. Until then I will take you at your word. The young people were definitely having fun on that beach. The brunette was sitting next to the green-haired girl. Liz was on the other side. Eris was just sitting a little away from them with her gaze fixed on the view of the beautiful sea in front of her eyes. Izuku noticed how for brief moments she had a somewhat nostalgic look. "Momo, honey, are you okay?" Izuku, "Oh yeah, nothing's wrong. By the way, Claude's didn't come. Where is he?" "Momo, it's true he didn't come. I didn't see him at any time. I wonder what he's doing," she whispered in his ear. "At least we don't have to pretend anymore," she said while showing a slight blush on her cheeks. Izuku just intertwined his fingers with hers in a tender hold, saying, "You're right, love." Liz looked at them with a tender pout, saying, "How much do you two keep secrets?" Izuku, "Nothing special, Liz." The black-haired girl had a beautiful pout. Meanwhile, in a dark room barely lit by the light coming through one of the windows, there was a roulette wheel in the middle of which a certain perverted dwarf was tied. He was shaking with fear as he said, "I promise I won't do it again, I swear." The dwarf fell when he saw a knife stuck next to his face. That object had been thrown from the depths of the darkness of that room. A voice came forward saying, "Do you think I'll let you go after trying to spy on Miss Momo in the bathroom? I must admit you are one perverted little guy with guts." The sound of a gun reloading ranged throughout the room. Mineta swallowed when he heard that sound. It would say, "I beg you, I will do whatever you asked me. I won't spy on any girls anymore, so please don't kill me. Put yourself in my shoes, look at me, I'm not attractive or anything, what girl would want to go out with me? At this rate I'll die a virgin, that's why I spied on the girls, it's not my fault they're so hot." Another knife stabbed right under the only thing that made him feel like a man. Mineta had his soul coming out of his mouth. Returning to our protagonists, they had spent almost the entire day on the beach having fun together. Kaken and Ethan made their bets while having fun. Afterwards, everyone returned to the Yaoyorozu house. Each one went to their room to take a bath. Night had fallen and Mr. Yaoyorozu was in the yard making a barbecue for everyone. The pleasant aroma permeated the entire place. After taking a bath, Bakugo and Ethan helped Mr. Yaoyorozu, who kindly kept up with them while they laughed about some things. Our green-haired boy was taking a shower. When he got out of the bath, he went to the bed to put on the clothes he had prepared. He saw how his phone was vibrating. Izuku took it, seeing that he had several messages from a certain brunette. Izuku, but it's Uraraka-san. He saw the messages he had. Uraraka chat. Hello Izuku-kun, how are you? Can we meet tomorrow for ice cream? The thing is, there's something I want to talk to you about. I want to tell you something that hasn't let me sleep these past few days. Please answer me. Izuku, wow, I wonder what she wants to talk about, but now I can talk to her without getting nervous since I finally clarified my feelings. Chat Izuku, I'm sorry Uraraka, I won't be able to tomorrow, I'm not in Japan. Momo and I are at her summer house on a beautiful island and will not be returning to Japan until Sunday evening, so as not to miss classes on Monday. Chat Uraraka, I see. I guess we can talk on Monday, right? Chat Izuku, yes, of course, it can be during recess. What do you think? Chat Uraraka, if it's okay, I'll wait for you. Goodbye Izuku-kun. Izuku, well, I'd better get changed and go down with the others. Before leaving, he saw Kaken's social networks, where he had uploaded several photos where they were all together on the beach. The green-haired man saw the photos and everyone seemed to be having fun. Izuku, this moment is certainly nice. The freckled boy changed and left his room. As he walked through the halls of the mansion, he ran into the dark-haired girl who had made him fall in love. Momo was wearing a beautiful red dress, which reached to her knees. The dress was simple but made her look very beautiful and highlighted her beautiful body. The brunette had her hair loose and she looked a little embarrassed and said, Do I look pretty? Izuku took her by the waist and lifted her high, making her spin in the air, saying, You look more than beautiful, love. The green-haired boy carefully lowered her. Momo just wrapped her arms around his neck and gave him a tender kiss on her lips, and when they separated she said, I love you, Baka. Izuku, me too. They both held hands and walked down the stairs, heading outside with the others. Mr. Yaoyorozu smiled slightly upon seeing them, revealing what was happening. This one in his thoughts would say, Apparently they both fell in love with their own lie. Bakugo, oh, finally you two lovebirds arrived. Liz was sitting next to Mrs. Yaoyorozu as they chatted with each other. The barbecue was already ready. Mr. Yaoyorozu, everything is ready, we can sit down to eat. They all said. Yes, with excitement. Among the food there were skewers with meat and vegetables among other things. Izuku, this is delicious. Mr. Yaoyorozu, thank you, I'm not praising you, but I'm the best at this. Izuku looked around, noticing that Eris was missing. He asked, An Eris? Why is he not with us? Mr. Yaoyorozu, she told me she was going to walk along the tree-lined path that is a few minutes from here. Well, the night is beautiful, and in that place you can appreciate a beautiful view of the sea, and on these dates it. Izuku grabbed a couple of skewers and walked out, saying, I'll be right back. The others agreed. Mr. Yaoyorozu only gave a slight smile when he saw the green-haired man's attitude. Bakugo and Ethan looked at each other, and behind the others' backs they took out money, saying, I bet the blonde wins this game. Ethan, I know my sister will win this round. Lord Yaoyorozu saw this and approached them, asking, What are you guys doing? Bakugo told him about the bets. Mr. Yaoyorozu, I see then. I bet all this on Eris, he said while taking money out of his pocket. Bakugo, deal. Mrs. Yaoyorozu along with Liz and Momo watched as the three of them said something to each other while laughing in a strange way. Liz with a drop of sweat would say. What are those three talking about? Mrs. Yaoyorozu, I don't know, but it's better to ignore them. Momo, Mom is right. Meanwhile, the green-haired man walked along that senator and could see how a few meters away from him was that blonde sitting on a rock. Eris was illuminated by the light of the moon. Without a doubt those blue eyes she had stood out in a beautiful way. Eris looked at the sea with a somewhat sad look. She heard some footsteps behind her. The blonde turned around and found the green-haired man holding 2 skewers of meat in his hand. Izuku, I finally found you, Eris. Eris, what are you doing here, Izuku? Izuku, the question is, what are you doing here? Everyone is eating barbecue and you weren't with us, so I came for you, he said while showing a smile. Eris saw that smile and smiled slightly, saying, Sorry, I forgot about the time. I stood looking at this beautiful view of the sea. Izuku, you're right, it's a beautiful view. He sat next to her, saying, Something's wrong, right? Eris opened her eyes wide, saying, Oh, of course not, I'm fine, he said with a somewhat muffled voice. Izuku clearly heard them saying, Someday I will earn your trust so that when you are sad you can tell me your problems. But until then I won't leave you alone, Eris. No one deserves to be alone, that's why I came for you. He extended his hand to her, giving her a skewer while showing her a warm smile. Eris, upon hearing those words from the green-haired man, felt a warm emotion that hit her chest in a beautiful and tender way as if it were a caress. She could only look into the boy's eyes as he extended his hand with that skewer. She tucked a lock of hair behind her right ear, saying, I'll take you at your word. After saying that, she took a bite of the skewer that the green-haired man was holding. This made the freckled boy blush slightly. Chapter 20. It's a promise, please don't let me go. Izuku, seeing her, just smiled slightly, blushing a little. Eris, thank you for being here with me, Izuku. The blonde gave a slight smile, warm and sincere. She grabbed the skewer and started eating with the green-haired man. Eris, it's delicious. Izuku, yes, that's right, Mr. Yaoyorozu prepared them. Eris didn't say anything. They both looked at the beautiful view they had towards the beautiful sea, on whose surface the beautiful moon was reflected as bright and beautiful as ever. Izuku, did you have fun today, Eris? Eris looked at the freckled boy and remembered that small but beautiful moment she had with him. That brought a tender smile to her face, and without looking at him out of the corner of her eye she replied, Yes, thank you for today. Izuku, hey, why are you thanking me? I didn't do anything special. Eris shook her head tenderly, saying, You were wrong, you did a lot for me. Without realizing it, you made my day. Izuku didn't understand the meaning of those words, so he was confused. Izuku, huh? Please tell me what I did to brighten your day. Eris just let out a small laugh, saying, It's a secret and I won't tell you. But if you want, you can try to find out for yourself. The beautiful blonde stood up while giving him a beautiful smile, saying, Come on, let's go with the others. Your girlfriend will get mad if you spend too much time with me, though. I admit that I will keep this little moment that we just shared as a very special memory for me. Eris turned around and began to walk with her back to the green-haired man, who upon seeing her realized that it was the first time since he met her that he had seen her show such a warm and sincere smile. Since the first time they met, she was bothering him about his fake relationship with the brunette. He could only smile slightly as he stood up from his spot and began walking to catch up with the blonde. They both started walking while the green-haired man asked, You're not going to tell me what I did? Eris, nope, I already told you, it's a secret of mine. She laughed mockingly. Izuku, oh my god, I wonder what it is. Eris just looked at him and couldn't help but want to get to know him more, since that feeling had grown more within her. She remembered the green-haired man's words. But until then I won't leave you alone, Eris. Eris, so it's a promise, right? Izuku, huh? Promise? Eris, what you said just now about don't leave me alone. You can promise me you'll never do that. She was looking down. Izuku, I promise. He intertwined the little finger of his right hand with the little finger of Eris's left hand, raising both hands. Eris raised her gaze to look at him in her eyes. Izuku smiled at him, saying, "I promise you, Eris. And if I ever break my promise, then you can hate me. But, to be honest, I don't want you to hate me, so I will keep my promise no matter what." Eris, that sounded so cheesy, but if it's you, then I will believe your words. Izuku, cheesy? Said with a drop of sweat on his head. Eris, but for some reason they were the right words for me. They both just continued walking until they reached the others. Momo, seeing Eris, approached her, saying, "Where were you, Eris? We were waiting for you." Eris was about to answer, but Momo took her hand, saying, "Come on, let's eat, you must be hungry. If they kept taking too long, Mom and I would go look for them." "Na darling, you haven't been cheating on me, have you?" he said with a purple aura. Izuku, somewhat nervous, replied, "Oh, of course not, honey." Eris just gave a small smile and went with Momo and the others to eat. The blonde, before leaving, looked at the green-haired boy, saying, "Thank you." Bakugo and Mr. Yaoyorozu saw this and extended their hands to Ethan while saying, Pay. Ethan, TCH, they just got lucky." Izuku watched with a drop of sweat on his head as he said to himself, "I see that Lord Yaoyorozu also joined in to bet with them. They take advantage of the situation." He was taken out of his thoughts when he heard Liz's voice. The brunette was at his side, and with a smile she said, "Any Izuku-kun, I see you're still giving special treatment to Miss Eris. Why would that be?" "Izuku, please stop, Liz, you're scared," with that smile. After finishing dinner, everyone went to sleep, as the day had come to an end. The next day the boys again enjoyed the beautiful beach, and in the afternoon they returned to take a swim and prepare for the small fireworks festival that would be held on the island as they did every year. Izuku, along with Bakugo and Ethan, were outside the mansion waiting for the girls who had not yet come out. After a few minutes they came out dressed in yukatas. Honestly, the three of them looked very beautiful. "Bakugo, well, let's go enjoy tonight," everyone shouted. Yes, with excitement. They set out for the place where everything would take place. When they arrived, they saw that there were several food and game stalls. Even though the island was not that big, there were a lot of people there. The kids went through several food and game stands, all having fun in their own way. It was a time when everyone laughed happily. The time for fireworks had arrived. "Etten, guys, it's time to go somewhere where we can see the fireworks better." Everyone agreed. Momo saw that there were a lot of people, so she suggested the idea of being all together so as not to get separated and thus avoid getting lost in the crowd of people. Everyone agreed with the brunette. The young people began to walk through the crowd as best they could, since there were a lot of them. Liz was following Izuku, and at one point she couldn't get through the people and saw how the others moved away from her. "Liz, guys, please wait for me, Oni-chan, Izuku-yo." People blocked the path of the brunette. She had lost sight of her friends. Liz undoubtedly did not know the place well. If she moved, she could get lost. "Liz, please wait for me," she said with her head down. She understood her hands because she had tried to catch the green-haired man's hand before he lost sight of her. She was lowering her hand in what she felt like someone held it in a tender grip. Liz raised her gaze, meeting the emerald eyes of the green-haired man, who looked at her directly in her eyes. "Liz, Izuku. Izuku, are you lost? You're still as careless as you were that time, Liz. Don't let go of my hand. We said we would all watch the fireworks together, so I won't let you miss them." He pulled her with a little force, drawing her towards him. Liz collided against his body, feeling the warmth of that moment. "Izuku, don't separate from me, yes." He began to walk while holding her hand firmly and gently without letting go. Liz could only see the freckled boy's green hair. Her eyes opened wide as she remembered an old memory from when they were both 7 years old. If the same thing had happened, she had also gotten lost at a fireworks festival before, but it was on that occasion where she met the green-haired man, who, seeing her, extended his hand to her, saying, "Are you lost? Come take my hand, but please don't cry." It was on that occasion that she and he met for the first time. Yes, now the same thing was happening. He was holding her hand again. Liz 4. Please don't let me go. Izuku, I won't do it, Liz. Chapter 21. Tears that could not be contained. Uraraka's feelings. Izuku, I won't let you go for anything in the world. Those simple but warm words touched the feelings of the brunette. She felt a beautiful and faint warmth on her cheeks. She couldn't deny the hand of that green-haired boy who held her tenderly was warm, so much so that she didn't want to stop feeling that warmth. Liz just squeezed her hand tenderly as they walked through the crowd, watching as the sky lit up in several beautiful colors. Well, the fireworks had already started, and they watched them as they walked. Izuku, we're almost there. A few seconds later they arrived with the others who were waiting for them, in a place apart from everyone else. A place where you could see the fireworks in more detail. Momo, seeing how Izuku grabbed Liz's hand, couldn't help but get jealous, but Liz tried not to show that she was upset. The young people sat on the beautiful grass of the small hill where they were. Everyone was happy to be able to spend those days together because they had had a lot of fun. Momo was sitting next to the green-haired boy. Liz was on his other side. Everyone was watching as the sky was illuminated by various beautiful colors. Momo, still a little jealous, took the green-haired boy by the hand in a tender grip. Izuku just looked at her somewhat strangely, asking, "What's happening?" Momo with a cute pout replied, "It's okay, Baka." "Izuku, huh? Why are you telling me that all of a sudden?" "Momo, HMP, you know Baka." He said this in a low voice. Izuku had a drop of sweat on his head as he didn't understand the reason why his girlfriend was upset. Kaken secretly extended his hand to Ethan to collect. Ethan gave a clearly resigned sigh. After watching the fireworks, everyone stood looking at the beautiful starry sky. It was certainly a beautiful sight to see. Eris looked at the beautiful moon in the sky, and for a second the image of the freckled boy came to mind. She looked at him sideways, feeling her heart slowly racing, and in a low voice she said, "I don't want to lose her." After spending some time, everyone decided to return to the mansion to rest a little. Upon arrival, everyone separated to go to their rooms. Eris was the only one who didn't go to sleep. She preferred to stay outside a little longer. The blonde was sitting on the same water fountain where Izuku and Mr. Yaoyorozu had talked before. Without realizing it, some tears fell down the blonde's cheeks, wetting her delicate skin. A very painful memory passed through Eris's mind. Some words repeated themselves over and over in her head. "We will always be with you. You will never be alone." "Eris, they broke their promise," she said with a broken voice. A certain person was listening to the ruby crying. Eris was trying to hold back her tears, but it was difficult for her. She felt a hand on her head, carrying her tenderly. She raised her gaze and met Mr. Yaoyorozu, who gave her a slight smile, saying, "Don't cry anymore, Eris." Eris wiped away her tears, saying, "I'm not crying, sir, just." Mr. Yaoyorozu just hugged her, saying, "I've always considered you as my own daughter, so I know when you're lying to me, Eris. If you want to cry, I will be here like a father to comfort you, and you know it. It's been a while and it's still painful for you, but you have me, my wife, and Momo. You are part of our family and you know it. For Momo, you are like her older sister. She has always wanted to call you sister, but she didn't know if she could do it since she didn't want to hurt you in any way. I've always wanted you to call me Dad someday. I don't intend to replace your biological father, but..." Eris couldn't hold back any longer and hugged him, emotionally collapsing and letting her tears out, while clinging to the only paternal figure she had at her side. "Eris, sigh. I love you all, Pa." "Dad, I love you." Mr. Yaoyorozu smiled slightly as tears fell from his eyes and said, "I love you more, daughter, and I would never abandon you." At that, another pair of warm arms joined the hug. Eris noticed how a certain brunette hugged them both while also crying. "Momo, idiot, you didn't have to bear that pain alone. I've always wanted to call you sister so you'd know you could tell me what was happening to you. I just wanted to see you happy." Eris embraced Momo as they cried. Some friends were behind the wall listening to everything. Izuku, Bakugo, Ethan, and Liz had heard Eris cry, and even though they had known each other for a short time, they had grown very fond of her. They were so worried that they were about to go and comfort her when Mr. Yaoyorozu and Momo appeared. Izuku would quietly say, "We better go inside, after all she is with her family now." Those present nodded slightly and quietly went to their rooms. Finally the day to return to Japan had arrived. Back on the plane, Eris noticed how all her friends sat next to her for some reason. Momo and Eris were sitting together. Their relationship between them was no longer than it was before, now closer, so much so that they slowly called each other sisters. Upon arriving in Japan, each friend went home to rest, after saying goodbye to the Yaoyorozu family. Momo, knowing that Liz was staying overnight at Izuku's house, ended up sleeping at his house too. Well, she wouldn't leave Izuku alone for Liz, knowing that she was his rival. And the day to go to school had finally arrived. We can see all the boys in the classroom. A certain brunette girl, upon entering the classroom, couldn't help but look at Izuku, because finally the day in which the two of them would talk had arrived, and the green-haired boy knew it. At lunchtime, Izuku's little group was having lunch together, when a certain brunette approached them and asked to speak to Izuku alone. The green-haired man accepted, and they went to a place to talk alone. They both went to the school rooftop, and once alone Uraraka took a deep breath, saying, "Izuku, I like you too much, please go out with me." Chapter 22. I can't be with you, I'm sorry. Momo confronts her parents. The brown-haired girl exclaimed almost out loud, clear enough for the green-haired boy to hear her. Izuku, upon hearing the words of the brown-haired girl in front of him, could only remember how he had been, or rather, thought he had been, in love with her before, but upon getting to know the beautiful brunette who caught him better, he realized that he had been confusing his feelings all the time. Maybe it was because he was new to this game called love. To the freckled brown-haired boy she seemed pretty, sincere, and a good person. Perhaps if she had asked him to be her boyfriend before Momo's lie, he would have accepted, but now it was too late. Because Momo Yaoyorozu was the girl with whom the green-haired boy wanted to be for the rest of his life, and he couldn't change his mind for anything in the world. Because he had simply fallen madly in love with the brunette. He had fallen in love with her eyes, her hair, her smile. He had sincerely fallen in love with Momo Yaoyorozu completely. There was no part of the brunette that the freckled boy didn't like. He saw how his partner and friend, for whom he had blushed before, looked at him, waiting for an answer from him. Izuku just looked at her, and with eyes that showed his sadness, he replied, "I'm sorry, Uraraka-san, I can't go out with you. I'm dating Momo, and I sincerely love her with all my heart. I'm sorry I can't reciprocate." "Uraraka, you lie. What happened between you and Momo is a lie, and you know it." Izuku, hearing those words, opened his eyes slightly for a second. Uraraka had tears falling down her cheeks. "Izuku, Uraraka. Uraraka, I heard them." "Izuku, did you hear what I have asked?" "Uraraka, the conversation you and Professor Claudes had that time you saved Momo from drowning during swimming practice. I heard clearly when he told you that their relationship was a lie, that they were just lying. You're just pretending to be her boyfriend so she doesn't marry another guy she doesn't like. Why did you accept? What do you gain from his lie?" Izuku remembered that time when he and Claudes had talked. Yes, that time when Claudes had discovered his lie. Well, a lie that at that time had been what it was. But what Uraraka didn't know was that from that time on, that lie slowly became a lie that ended up becoming true. Since that little lie was the one in charge of bringing Izuku and Momo together, a lie of mutual love that had been born between the two, for both of them it was the best lie they could have told. Izuku was about to answer when he heard the brown-haired girl's choppy words. "Uraraka, if everything is a lie, then why don't you break up with her and stay with me?" The brown-haired girl was crying uncontrollably. "Uraraka, I do love you, idiot, and I did even more before his lie." Izuku opened his eyes wide upon hearing his friend's words. Izuku approached her and wiped her tears with a handkerchief he had in his pocket while saying, "You know, if you had just told me that before, my past self would have blushed and awkwardly told you that I felt the same way about you, but my past self was just confused about his feelings. I'm really sorry, Uraraka-san. But I love Momo no matter what. I want to always be by her side. Uraraka, don't keep lying to me, please. I know you're lying just one game. What if she's just playing with you? Have you ever thought that maybe she doesn't love you like you love her? I don't want you to get hurt. I couldn't stand to see the boy I love to get hurt. Izuku just gave a slight smile, saying, even if she doesn't love me, she's the love of my life, and if I'm a game to her, I want to play more games. Forgive me, but I can't break up with Momo just to be with a woman I don't love. I can't be with you because I only see you as a friend and nothing more. I'm sorry. After saying that, the green-haired man turned around and entered through the door that led to the roof, beginning to go down the stairs to return to the cafeteria. When Izuku crossed through the door, he didn't see a brunette who was hiding at the side of it. That brunette had heard every word the couple said. Several tears fell from the cheeks of that ebony girl. Momo, I also want to keep losing in our game. I want to keep falling in love with you over and over again, love, she said with a slight smile and a beautiful blush. Momo had heard the words of that green-haired boy who had made her fall madly in love, and she had also heard the words of that brown-haired girl, and she undoubtedly felt bad for her because she knew that she had taken enough courage to tell her feelings to the boy she likes, something that would have cost her a little. Momo opened the door to the roof. Uraraka was crying kneeling on the ground, and when she heard the sound of the door opening she turned her gaze to meet that brunette. Momo approached her and knelt down beside her, saying, I promise you that I won't hurt him for anything in the world. I couldn't do that. Izuku is the most precious and valuable thing I have. I love him with all my heart, and he knows it too. I heard your confession and I'm really sorry, Uraraka-san. To tell the truth, I send you a little. Uraraka, wiping away her tears, would say, do you send me? I'm the one who should be telling you that. You have the guy who rejected me madly in love with you. Momo, yes, I envy you. You had enough courage to face your same feelings, something that was a bit difficult for me with Izuku. I was also afraid that he would reject me, but he didn't reject me but told me that he also loved me as much as I loved him. Uraraka, did they kiss? She asked, knowing that her answer would hurt him a lot. Momo, yes, we kiss. Uraraka just lowered her head, unwilling to continue speaking. Momo, at first everything between us was a lie so I wouldn't marry a fiancé my parents proposed for me. It all started that day when Aizawa-sensei gave us a job together. I didn't have enough courage to face him and tell him that I didn't want to marry anyone. You know, wealthy families betroth their children to the children of another family of great reputation to have a good and respectable condescension and all that. And I lied to them saying that Izuku and I were dating just to avoid getting married. They didn't quite believe us and tested us. We had to show that we really loved each other. Claude was my bodyguard since I was a child, and well, he is in charge of watching us at school. But as you said, he knows that our relationship is a lie, and yet he didn't say anything to my parents. As the days went by and with Liz's arrival, I realized that I had fallen in love with my own lie. If I had fallen in love with Izuku, and when Liz hugged him I couldn't help but get jealous. But I won't lie to you, telling you that lie was the best thing that ever happened to me. I know it's wrong for me to tell you this at a time like this, but Izuku and I are now an official couple. The lie I told became real and... She couldn't finish speaking as Uraraka stood up and started walking towards the door but stopped abruptly to say, just don't hurt them, yeah. He is someone very important to me and I don't want to see him suffer so. Momo, I give you my word that I will never harm him, I promise. Uraraka heard those words and left the rooftop, leaving Momo alone there. Upon arriving at the cafeteria, Izuku would see his friends noticing that his girlfriend was missing. He asked, and Momo-san? Bakugo, if you ask about your girlfriend, she went to the bathroom. Liz took Izuku by the arm, saying, come Izuku-kun, let's eat together. I'll feed you and you feed me, okay? He said while showing an adorable smile. She felt a hand pull Izuku away. Momo had taken her boyfriend by the arm, saying, don't worry, I'll feed my Izuku. After all, I'm his girlfriend, and you're just his friend. Both girls stared at each other with great rivalry. Izuku had a drop of sweat on his head and he would say, gee girls, calm down please. The school day passed completely normally, with the difference that a certain brunette was not in the classroom, Izuku had noticed. Currently we can see Izuku and Momo in the house she is about to enter. Izuku, what are we doing here, love? Momo, we better go inside and you'll find out. They both entered the mansion and went to the living room where Momo's parents were. Mr. Yaoyorozu, wow, you finally arrived, darling. How are you? Oh, Izuku, my boy, how nice to see you. I didn't think you would come today. Momo, Dad, Mom, I have something I've wanted to tell you and I don't know how you're going to take it. They both looked at the couple somewhat confused. Izuku was no exception. Mr. Yaoyorozu, what's wrong, daughter? Momo closed her eyes and inhaled air, saying, Yo. I lied to you about my relationship with Izuku so I wouldn't get married with the engagement you arranged. Chapter 23, The Destiny That Awaited Us All. The brunette still didn't open her eyes, afraid of hearing some kind of scolding, but the seconds passed, and she slowly opened her eyes, seeing how her parents looked at her as always without showing any angry reaction or anything like that. Mr. Yaoyorozu, that's it, you scared me for a moment, honey. I thought you were going to say that something bad happened. Mrs. Yaoyorozu, I thought you would give me the news that I would be a grandmother, she said, somewhat disappointed. Momo blushed deeply at her mother's comment. Izuku was no exception. He looked away because of how embarrassed he was. Momo, what kind of reaction is that? I lied to you all the time. Aren't you upset and angry with me? Mr. Yaoyorozu, not at all, darling. Mrs. Yaoyorozu, of course not, daughter. Mr. Yaoyorozu, from the beginning we knew it was a lie, because Izuku was more than nervous the first time you introduced him to us, not to mention that they didn't show that affectionate aspect of a couple. Besides, he hugged his wife and with a warm smile said, Your mother and I also told the same lie when we were your age. Well, I was the one who said it so I wouldn't marry the partner your grandparents introduced me to. And look at me now, I have a beautiful daughter. I don't want to say, I have two beautiful daughters. You and Eri are the most valuable thing that your mother and I have, darling. But now I will ask you something. Do you really think that everything about you was a lie? Lately you've been happier and closer to Izuku. You also fell in love with your own lie, right? Momo just opened her eyes wide at everything she had heard, her face blushing as much as possible. Mr. Yaoyorozu, Izuku already knew that we knew that their relationship was a farce, but just like you, he fell in love with that lie. Izuku, there you have exposed us. Mr. Yaoyorozu, I asked him not to tell you anything. I was willing to play along with you too. I wanted to see how far his lie would go or if it would come true, and I see that I was not wrong. Momo turned around looking at Izuku, who looked away to the side whistling a tune quietly. He took out his phone nervously, saying, Oh wow, I have missed several calls from my mother. Well, with your permission I will go home to see if something happens. He turned around when he felt Momo's hand squeezing his shoulder tightly. His survival instincts had been activated and were telling him in his mind. Run, Hitch, run. Momo, with a purple aura and her eyes closed, said, No, honey, if you already knew everything, why didn't you tell me? Momo's voice could intimidate anyone. Izuku in his thoughts would say, Here I go, St. Peter. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot, she replied in a low, scared voice. Mrs. Yaoyorozu, tell me then, daughter, is there something you want to tell us, but with the truth this time? Momo looked at her parents and blushing slightly replied, Yo. I want my commitment to be with Izuku, he is the one I love. I want to build a life by your side. So please accept my decision. Mr. Yaoyorozu, it's okay, daughter. After all, from the first moment I saw Izuku I accepted him as part of the family. Your mother and I wish you happiness with all our hearts. Momo just shed a few tears, saying, Thank you. She felt like Izuku took her hand, the freckled man would say. Mr. Yaoyorozu and Mrs. Yaoyorozu, I promise that I will take care of Momo with my own life. She is everything to me, and I thank you for accepting our relationship. Momo was blushing at her boyfriend's words but tenderly squeezed the green-haired boy's hand, resting her head on her left shoulder to say in a low voice, I love you, Baka. Mrs. Yaoyorozu, and tell me, Izuku, when do you plan to give me a grandchild? They know I won't live forever, right? Momo just blew smoke from her ears, saying, And Mom, don't say those things lightly, and besides, Izuku, well, if it were up to me I would do it right now, he replied somewhat embarrassed. Momo looked at him and blushed with embarrassment. She replied, Bibaka, don't say anything. Izuku just let out a small laugh when he saw how his girlfriend was quite embarrassed. Mrs. Yaoyorozu, I see, we were just thinking about going out for a walk around there, so you have the house to yourself. She won at both of them. Momo just covered her face in embarrassment. Mr. Yaoyorozu gave him a thumbs up saying, Do your best, boy. Izuku gave him a thumbs up saying, Of course I will. Momo, Bibaka, don't play along, she said while hitting his chest tenderly. The black-haired girl's parents walked past the couple, saying, We're leaving now so you can be alone. Momo, are you really going to? She couldn't finish speaking until she heard the big door close, leaving them alone in the living room. Izuku sat on the living room sofa saying, Damn, I never thought you'd confront your parents right now. Momo, well, you were by my side so I gathered my courage. Well, the reason is that I didn't want to hide our relationship like a lie anymore. Now we're really dating, so I wanted them to know. Izuku understand. He felt Momo pull his cheek saying, But if I had known that Dad already knew, I would have saved myself the words. Tell me, honey, why didn't you tell him anything? Izuku, my love, you're scary. Well, I had forgotten about that. But it was because it made me happy that we were now a real couple, and these days we spent together made me forget what happened that night. I'm sorry. Momo let go of his cheeks, looking to the side and saying, I forgive you. All right, come with me, I want to show you something. She took him by the hand and led him to her room. Upon entering, Izuku saw that on his desk there was a bookmark with a photo of him and Momo together on the beach. Izuku, this is. Momo, this is the photo we took on the beach. I liked it a lot and I printed it so I could always see it before going to sleep. He answered something learn. Take. She held out her hand with a bunch of photos of them all on the beach. Momo, I printed them out so everyone could have a souvenir of when we went to that place. You can give them to Bakugo and the others for me. In the photos they were all together having fun, eating ice cream, watching the fireworks. Izuku sat on Momo's bed saying, I'm sure they will be very happy. Momo sat next to him saying, I know. You know I really had a lot of fun. Especially when you got jealous of that boy and kissed me claiming me as yours. That made me really happy. He said as he rested his head on the freckled boy's shoulders. Izuku placed the photos on the nightstand, and then rested his head on Momo's, interlacing his hand with hers, saying, Well, I was afraid of losing you, that's all. Momo tightened her grip on his hand, saying, You will never lose me, I will always be by your side. Izuku tenderly lifted her chin to give her a tender kiss on her lips, a kiss that made the brunette blush, but she reciprocated it. Izuku, while kissing her, laid her on the bed while Momo with her hands ran her hands over his abdomen and chest under his shirt. They both separated, leaving a trail of saliva. Momo was blushing deeply. Izuku smiled mischievously, saying, Do you want to give your mother to grandchild? Momo looked away very embarrassed and said, Or of course not. At least not now, maybe in the future but not now. But that doesn't mean I don't want to do it with you. She responded, very sorry for his words. Izuku was about to kiss her but Momo stopped him and separated from him, approaching the door and then locking it, saying, Don't anyone come in. I know Dad and Mom went out but Eris could arrive at any moment. She approached Izuku, kissing him tenderly and then laying him down on the bed, leaving her on top of him. Izuku held her against his body, grabbing her waist. Momo slowly pulled up his shirt and finally took it off, revealing her boyfriend's nice toned body. She passionately caressed the freckled man's torso while he ran his hands up and down the dark-haired girl's lower back, feeling the softness of her skin. Izuku slowly removed the blouse that his girlfriend was wearing, leaving her with her red cleavage exposed, which he held her breasts. Momo was very sorry, saying, Don't look at me so much, Bibaka. Izuku approached her and began to kiss her neck, causing soft moans to come out of the brunette's mouth as she breathed heavily while clinging to the freckled boy's neck. Izuku slowly removed her cleavage, causing it to fall over her shoulders until it was completely removed, leaving a very red ebony girl who covered her breasts with her hands, saying, "This is very embarrassing for me." Izuku kissed her tenderly, saying, "You don't have to be ashamed of your body, it's the most beautiful thing, love." Those words saddened Momo even more, but at that moment she felt like she wanted to give herself to him, body and soul. She wanted Izuku to make her his yes, and she wanted him to be hers too. She removed her hands, grabbing Izuku's hands, making him touch her breasts, saying, "If you know, you can touch me too." Then he gave her a kiss which intensified until it was a kiss with tongues. Momo was now lying on the bed while she felt Izuku kiss her neck and went lower and lower. Such kisses made the brunette moan as she felt her body very hot. The freckled man stripped her of every piece of clothing she had until she was left naked. He also took off all his clothes, and seeing him blushing, Momo said, "And be gentle with me." Izuku leaned against her, giving her a kiss, and when they separated he whispered to her, "Now you will feel the power of my chunchamaru." Momo blushed and then let out a loud moan. Izuku slowly penetrated her as he was being careful with his girlfriend. He could feel how warm and tight it felt to be inside the raven. Momo wrapped her legs around Izuku's waist, saying, "Stay still, don't move, yeah?" "Izuku, do you want me to take it out?" "Momo, no, just stay like that for a moment." Izuku understood and kissed her tenderly on the lips for a few minutes until Momo told him he could move now. The freckled boy slowly moved his hips, penetrating the brunette. The entire room is being flooded by Momo's moans. Izuku grabbed both of Momo's hands passionately as they gave each other their first time. Momo was happy to be able to be like this with the person she truly loved. Even though at first she felt a little pain, now she could only feel a unique pleasure running through her body. Their breathing was in total sync, that heavy, agitated breathing. Izuku turned Momo around, putting her in the doggy-style pose. In itself the pose was somewhat embarrassing for Momo, but none of that mattered. She felt how Izuku again entered her, now touching deeper than before, causing a loud and sensual moan to come out of her mouth. Izuku now rammed her a little faster because of the adrenaline he was feeling at that moment. Momo grabbed the sheets of her bed with her hands because of the ecstasy she was feeling while making love. Izuku in his thoughts would say, "She's squeezing me tighter and tighter." "Momo, Izuku stop, don't see continue anymore," he said between moans. "Izuku, Momo, I." The brunette gave a loud moan when she felt that deep thrust. Both of them fell exhausted. Izuku was on top of Momo, who was breathing heavily because she had had her first orgasm. This one, as she could, would say, "You let it all out inside me." "Izuku, I'm sorry I couldn't hold on, you felt so good," he said while grabbing her hands. "Momo, it feels warm, I like it. I want you to stay inside me a little longer," she said, giving a slight smile, exhausted for the whole moment. Izuku hugged him tenderly, saying, "I love you, Momo." "Momo, I love you more, Izuku." They were both happy to have given themselves to each other. If that day was a special day that they both could never forget. At that moment I could only think about her. I wanted our moment to last forever, but I guess fate had a different destiny for each of us. A destiny that I am getting closer to knowing, a destiny from which I could never recover. Final Part 1. Even though she is my rival, she is also my friend. The couple fell asleep hugging each other, a slight smile on their faces. The hours passed until 8 o'clock at night fell and Izuku was the first to get up. He slowly opened his eyes, feeling a weight on top of him. He saw how that beautiful brunette slept peacefully on his chest. He smiled slightly and caressed her hair while whispering in her ear, "Wake up, Momo. You have to wake up, love." He noticed the tender smile that his girlfriend gave as she said to him, "I don't want to. I want to keep sleeping next to you," she said as she snuggled further into his chest. "Izuku, okay, I guess we can stay like this for a while longer." Momo looked up and gave him a short kiss on the lips, saying, "Thank you, love, you are the best." The couple remained lying down, and half an hour later the brunette got up and went to take a bath. After a while she came out wrapped in a towel saying, "You can take a bath now, love." Izuku nodded his head as he headed to the shower to take a bath. After a long time, they both left the room, already formally dressed, holding hands and began to walk down to the living room. When they arrived they saw Eris and her parents, who upon seeing the couple said, "At last the pair of lovebirds wake up. Mrs. Yaoyorozu, I see you had a good time together." The couple blushed slightly. Eris just closed her eyes and with a neutral voice she would say, "I see you had fun, Izuku-kun." She gave him a look that easily told his subconscious the word, danger. The brunette didn't get to see this. From that night the days passed with relative normality until the day of the festival arrived. Izuku and Momo's class eventually ended up making a Nico cat girl maid cafe. Each girl wore a maid outfit along with her cat ears and tail. It was incredibly popular, and many people visited the event. The boys were dressed as butlers in very elegant suits. Both Ethan, Bakugo, and Izuku were the same way. Bakugo, "Hey, extra that I can serve more tables than you." Ethan, "Wanna bet?" They both showed a smile challenging each other. Several girls arrived at the Bakugo class maid cafe and Ethan welcomed them in a unique way for Izuku, since for the freckled boy it would be the only time he could see Bakugo act that way. "Bakugo, welcome, I've been waiting for you. Please allow me to take you to your seat," he said while taking the chin of one of the girls, giving her a seductive look. The girl blushed so hard that she blew smoke out of her ears and let Bakugo lead her by the hand. Izuku watched this with a drop of sweat on his head. He felt a tender voice speaking to him behind his back. The freckled man turned around looking at Lisbeth, who had a small blush on her wins. She would say, How do I look?" Izuku took a good look at her, noticing that she looked beautiful in the maid outfit along with her cat ears and tail. "Izuku, you look cute, Liz." Liz walked up to him and whispered in his ear, "When we are alone I will give you a special service just for you," he said, blowing softly in her ear. Izuku blushed deeply because the way she had said it was quite flirtatious. She gave him a playful smile before walking away to attend to the kids who were arriving. Momo was serving a table where there were two boys who were trying to woo the brunette. "Momo, I'll bring you your orders in a few minutes, masters." One of the boys grabbed her hand saying, "Please don't go, stay with us a little longer. We want to know more about you. What is your name? What sign are you? When is your birthday?" Momo was about to break free from the hold when she felt a hand tenderly grab her waist, and with her other hand she grabbed the boy's hand, squeezing it tightly, pulling her away from Momo. She looked sideways at Izuku with a cold look and dull eyes, who with a voice from beyond the grave said, "Izuku Midoriya. I love cancer. And my birthday is on July 15th. He squeezed the boy's hand even tighter, saying, "Anything else you want to know about me?" The two scared boys would say, and nothing else." Izuku let go of his hand, taking Momo with him. Momo just gave a slight smile to turn around and steal a kiss on his lips, saying, "I love you. I will continue to serve the other tables, knowing that I have my own bodyguard at my side." The brunette left, leaving Izuku blushing. Mina and the other girls served the customers with a big smile, giving their best. Izuku saw how Uraraka was sitting on the side. He approached her saying, "Hello?" Uraraka gave him a slight smile saying, "Hello? Izuku, are you okay?" Uraraka, "Yeah, I'm just waiting for Mina to take her break so I can replace her." Izuku, "I see everyone is very busy." Uraraka, "Yeah, but you know this is fun." The brown-haired girl showed him a warm smile. "Izuku, you're right." He saw that more girls had arrived and he stood up saying, "Well, I have to work." Uraraka, "Good luck, Izuku-kun." Izuku smiled at him saying, "Thank you." He approached the girls taking on his role as a butler and said, "My mistresses were waiting for you. Tell me, what do you want to order? To coffee? Hug? Or maybe?" He took the chin of one of the girls and approached her very close to say in a low voice, "Or does he love me?" The girl smoked from her ears at those words and fainted from the emotion of the moment. Izuku quickly picked her up in his arms to take care of her. Uraraka saw all this, saying, "I understand you, friend, I also felt like you." The day continued with Izuku's class getting the most visitors. After finishing their work, Izuku, Ethan, Bakugo, Liz and Momo headed to watch the B-class play, which was quite cute and entertaining and comical on the part, having Itsuka Kendo as the main protagonist. After finishing watching the play, they went to see the other events of the other classes, where they bought food and sweet things while having a great time. There was no shortage of laughter with Bakugo and Izuku, who sometimes fought over senseless things. Finally, the day had come to an end. The boys were on the roof of the academy, and night had come. A bonfire had been made on campus. Class B began to launch fireworks which illuminated the entire place. Izuku and the others watched this with a big smile after having spent a very fun day. The next day we can see how Izuku was waiting next to a water fountain. This would say, "Why did you summon me here?" At that point a voice was heard a few meters away. Izuku looked up and saw Liz wearing a blue skirt that reached her knees and a black blouse with several white flower borders. She had her hair loose, attracting the attention of several boys. Because she was very beautiful despite not having a body like Momo's, she was still beautiful. Liz adjusted a lock of hair, saying, "Did I make you wait long?" Izuku, blushing a little, would say, "And no, I just got here." Liz smiled at him, saying, "Excellent." She took him by the arm, saying, "Well, let's start our date." "Finally, it's my turn." Izuku nodded slightly. Both began to walk towards their destination, the cinema, as they were going to see a movie that was released that day. The movie was one of romance, action, and sadness. The name was Could I Make You Happy? The young people entered, and after an hour and a half they came out with a couple of tears because of how sad the film had been. Liz, he knew all along, and yet he loved her. Sniff, sniff, she said between sobs. Izuku, with that even a man can cry. Salty little tear, she said as more than one tear fell from her cheeks. After crying for several minutes, they went to an ice rink to skate, since that was something that Liz liked. The freckled boy fell on the ice several times because he was very clumsy and had poor balance. Liz just laughed lightly and grabbed his hand, saying, "I will guide you, so don't let go of me." She smiled tenderly at him as she helped the freckled boy skate, who didn't let go of her hand for a second. He saw how the brunette had that beautiful smile on her face. After skating they went bowling, where Liz turned out to be the winner, demonstrating her great skill. You could say that on that date the two of them were having a blast. After finishing that activity they went to eat ice cream, in which Liz asked Izuku to feed her the ice cream in her mouth. The freckled boy, quite embarrassed, did so, making the brunette very happy. They had spent the whole afternoon having their date. They were walking towards their house. At that Izuku received the message on his phone. "Liz, did something happen?" Izuku, "Ah, well, something like that." Liz, "Well then go." Izuku, "No, I'll walk you home first, I can't let you go alone." Liz smiled at him, saying, "I can take care of myself, Baka. Besides, you've done a lot for me today, so go easy. We're only 2 blocks from home, so I'll be fine." Izuku agreed. Liz, "Hey Izuku." She approached Izuku, wrapping her arms around his neck, bringing her lips close to his. But just before their lips touched, she stopped and rested her forehead against his, saying, "Tell Momo that I give up." Izuku, huh? Liz separated herself from this, saying, "I give up. I will no longer fight to win your heart. I would only be wasting my time, since no matter what you do, you will continue to love her. I'm really jealous, but even so today I was really happy with you. I give up, but that doesn't mean I'll stop loving you. You'll always be my first love. I would like to kiss your lips and give you my first kiss, but I just can't. Even though Momo is my rival, I consider her a friend, and I wouldn't be able to kiss the boy she likes knowing that they are in a relationship. Because I wouldn't like another girl to kiss the person I love the most either." She smiled at him and said, "Make her happy, yes, got it?" If you make her suffer, I will hit you. Izuku approached her and gave her a tender hug, saying, Understood. Liz just responded to the hug, saying, I love you, Izuku, even if you only see me as a friend. She separated from him, saying, Well, go, they need you, I'll go home. Izuku nodded his head and turned around, walking away from her little by little. Liz's eyes were crystallized as she tried not to cry for letting that opportunity to kiss him pass her by. She turned around and started walking further ahead. She met Bakugo and his brother, who were walking together. Liz approached them, seeing that they had some tears in their eyes. Liz, are they crying? This surprised the two boys, who wiped away their tears, saying, Not at all. Liz had a drop of sweat on her head, saying, They were clearly crying. And how did your dates with those two girls go? Ethan, well, you see. He told him everything that had happened. Liz, so you guys saw that movie too? Bakugo, damn, whoever wrote the movie scripts made me cry. When I meet the author, I will give him a free shiny, he said while remembering the movie. Ethan slapped his friend on the back, saying, I understand you. They both blew their noses into a handkerchief. Liz just laughed lightly at the scene as she began to walk with them, ready to leave the past behind. Final Part 2, A Silent Farewell. Izuku was heading to a specific place since his girlfriend would be waiting for him there. Upon arriving at the place, he did not see the brunette, so he felt quite confused, but then a voice from behind him became present. Hello, sorry for making you come to this place. Izuku recognized that voice, and when he turned around he found himself facing a certain blonde with blue eyes, who was wearing a beautiful red dress with a white rose border in the middle of her chest. Honestly, Eris looked really beautiful. Her eyes shone in a very tender way. Her smile could captivate any boy who saw her. Izuku, Miss Eris, what are you doing here? I thought I would meet Momo. Eris, I'm sorry I lied to you. I sent you a message from her phone. But before that, she turned around in her dress, giving a beautiful smile, saying, How do I look, Izuku? Izuku blushed slightly because she honestly looked radiant beautiful. He looked away to the side, saying, You look beautiful. Eris gave him a slight smile, saying, I'm glad you think that. Now I know this may seem a bit strange to you, but could you go on a date with me now? Izuku, huh? Now? Eris nodded her head. Izuku watched as she looked at him tenderly, waiting for an answer. Izuku, it's fine with me, but it's almost nightfall. Does that bother you? Eris, not at all, and a date at night would be really nice, don't you think so? She smiled tenderly at him. Izuku, and yes. So where do you want to go first? Eris, to tell the truth, I didn't think about it, I just wanted to go out with you. I don't care where we go, I know that if I'm with you I'll have fun. Izuku blushed at those words and got a little nervous. Eris noticed this and just let out a small laugh, saying, I honestly like your reactions. They make you look very cute, she said while her smile caught the attention of the freckled boy's emerald eyes. Izuku, well, almost on the outskirts of the city, an amusement park opened. Do you want to go? Eris approached until she was close to him, saying, I love you. Both began to walk side by side with the other. Eris glanced at the freckled boy, who upon noticing this gave her a warm smile. Eris smiled slightly, and after about 10 minutes they arrived at the amusement park, where there were quite a few people. The whole place was illuminated by lights of all colors. Izuku, let's go in. Eris nodded her head and started walking around the place. The blonde saw how the stand was selling cotton candy. Izuku took her hand, making her blush slightly, and took her to the stand and bought her some cotton candy. Eris just looked into his eyes, seeing how he was with her. Izuku, is something wrong, Eris? Eris shook her head, tearing off a piece of the cotton candy and bringing it to her mouth, saying, That's lovely. Izuku just gave a slight smile as he continued on his way. They both went to play at an arcade, where they gave you a shotgun to play because it was an aiming game. The prizes ranged from teddy bears to beautiful bracelets and necklaces and more. Izuku, do you want to play? Eris showed him a smile, saying, I bet I have better aim than you, he said, grabbing the gun. Izuku let out a smile, saying, Okay, competitive girl. They both started playing. At the end of the game, Eris had won a medium-sized teddy bear after seeing that she had gotten more points. Izuku had lost her, but he saw how Eris was having a lot of fun. He was only able to get a beautiful necklace that had a heart pendant that opened so that a photo could be placed inside it. That pendant was honestly beautiful. Izuku, Eris, come closer please. Eris approached quite confused, but her eyes opened slightly when she saw how her hands surrounded the back of her neck tenderly. Izuku separated from her, saying, It looks very nice on you. Eris lowered her gaze, seeing the pendant that Izuku had put on her, and asked, Why are you giving it to me? This would have looked better on my sister. Izuku, can I give you something? Plus we're on a date, aren't we? Eris, yes, but... Izuku, then I will do my best to see you happy, Eris. After all, I made you a promise. Also good. I wanted to give the pendant to you from the beginning. Izuku looked up, seeing Eris's eyes, which were crystallized, threatening to release a few tears. The freckled man became worried and said, I'm sorry if you don't like what I... Eris, thank you? Yo. She passed her hands over her eyes, saying, I'm just happy about this gift. I promise I will always carry it with me. She approached Izuku, resting her forehead against him, saying, Let's continue with the appointment. Izuku, yes. They both summarized their path. Eris was carrying her teddy bear, resting it against her chest with a tender smile. The couple went on several rides until they reached the roller coaster. When they got off, Eris hit Izuku's back while he vomited on the side because he was very dizzy. The freckled boy had thought he was going to die because after seeing the Final Destination movies he imagined a lot of things when getting on that attraction. Night had come and we can see how Izuku and Eris were lining up to get on the Ferris wheel, the last attraction they had left to ride. And after 10 minutes they were able to get on. Both were sitting facing each other as the wheel began to slowly spin. The park managers began to launch fireworks from a certain location, creating a beautiful light show in the sky. From the cabin, Eris watched this and great happiness could be seen in the blonde's eyes. Izuku also looked out the cabin window, watching as the sky was illuminated by beautiful lights of all colors. Eris, it's beautiful, don't you think? Izuku looked at her sideways, seeing her eyes, saying, Yes, they are beautiful. Eris just gave a warm smile watching Izuku, saying, Thank you? Izuku, why are you thanking me? Eris, for making me happy today. The blonde showed him a different smile, one that undoubtedly made the green-haired boy blush but at the same time made him feel happy to see how she smiled in such a beautiful way. After a long time they were walking back to their homes under the beautiful moonlight. Izuku accompanied her to the entrance of the mansion where they had to say goodbye. Izuku, well, we're here. Eris, yes, well, even if I wanted it to be late, our date had to end early. But it's better this way, don't you think? Izuku didn't understand what she wanted to tell him. Eris, I'm really happy to have met you. I will never forget this night. The blonde gave him one last look that showed a faint sadness, saying, Make my sister happy. Although I know you will. Thanks for everything. She gave him one last smile to say goodbye to Izuku as she entered the mansion. The freckled man saw her walk away and after a few seconds she went home. When he arrived he saw that they were about to have dinner. But he was greatly surprised to see that Momo and Bakugo were in his house. Momo gave him a warm smile when she saw him, saying, You finally arrived, darling. We were waiting for you. Bakugo, hurry up, nerd. Or the food will get cold. Ethan, food tastes better when it's hot. Izuku gave a slight smile, saying, I'm home now. He sat next to everyone starting to eat dinner. Inko just watched as her son was surrounded by good friends. Dinner was calm and fun. After finishing lunch, Everyone helped wash things and then went to sit in the living room to watch a movie marathon. Everyone was lying on their futon, except for Momo and Izuku, who had fallen asleep on the sofa hugging each other. Ethan and Bakugo stood up and covered the couple with a blanket. The next day, after finishing breakfast, the group of friends left in the direction of Momo's house, because today they had agreed that they would all go out together to go to the amusement park and they were going to look for Eris. Upon arriving at the mansion, Momo's parents greeted him with a warm smile, saying, "Oh guys, it's nice to see you again," he said while fist bumping with Ethan and Bakugo. "Mrs. Yaoyorozu, I thought you would spend the day at Izuku's house today, daughter." "And yes, I will do it. What happens is that today we agreed that we would go out together, and I came to look for Eris." At these words, his mother and father looked at each other, drawing the boy's attention. "Momo, what's wrong?" "Mr. Yaoyorozu, honey, Eris didn't say anything to you." "Izuku, what do you mean?" "Mr. Yaoyorozu, you see, she left home. She went to another city to be able to apply to the university where she wants to fulfill her dream. I thought she told you about it." At those words, the boys remained silent. Izuku remembered everything from yesterday, realizing that she asked for that date as a way to say goodbye to him. "Momo, why did he leave without telling us anything? Why did they let him go?" The brunette's voice began to break. "Mr. Yaoyorozu, we wanted to stop her, but she insisted. I couldn't do anything. If it's because of her dream, then I won't stop her." At that moment, Claude came through the door, and everyone saw him, noticing how disheveled he was, and his suit was quite disheveled. "Mr. Yaoyorozu, oh Claude, where have you been lost?" Claude coughed lightly, saying, "It's a long story, sir." "Mrs. Yaoyorozu, why do you have women's lipstick on your neck?" Claude's long story. "Momo, Claude's Eris is gone." Claude opened his eyes wide, saying, "That? Where did he go?" "Momo, he went to another city." "Ethan, we have to go get her." "Mr. Yaoyorozu, if you go to the airport now, you might be able to catch up with her before her flight leaves." Claude, in a matter of seconds, was well uniformed and had a badass hairstyle, this one would say. There is no time to lose. Everyone in agreed left the house. Lord Yaoyorozu had a slight smile, saying, "I'm sure they will bring her back." We can see how Claude was driving the limousine at high speed. He passed in front of a car in seconds. The car was parked on Claude's left side, and a well-dressed man would say, "Hey, you moron, don't you know how to?" He couldn't finish speaking because Claude, without looking at him, pointed his gun at him, causing the subject to slow down without saying anything. Momo and the others looked at Claude with a drop of sweat. Normally it would take about 45 to 50 minutes to get to the airport, but with Claude at the wheel they arrived in 20 minutes. "Claude, go get her." All the boys got out of the limo and went to the airport, starting to look for Eris in the hopes that she hadn't left. But after asking, unfortunately her flight had already left, she had left, and they could not stop her. Momo had several tears on her cheeks when she learned that her sister had left. After about 4 hours of returning, Eris had finally arrived at her destination. Now she was in an apartment that Mr. Yaoyorozu had bought for her. After all, for him she was his daughter, and nothing was going to change that. The apartment was already fully furnished for a peaceful stay, as Mr. Yaoyorozu had made sure that his daughter would lack nothing. Eris was taking things out of her luggage. The blonde placed the teddy bear she had won on the bed, giving a slight smile. After finishing taking out all her things, Eris went to take a bath because she was tired. She had left her phone off. After getting out of the shower, she lay down on her bed, putting her hand over her eyes, saying, "I did the right thing, right? After all, he could never have one." But after several hours, it was almost 9 at night, and the blonde was sitting on the sofa in the living room watching television with a cup of hot cocoa. She glanced out the window, seeing how it was raining heavily. Eris grabbed her phone, and when she turned it on, she received several messages from Momo and missed calls from very early on. "Eris, I guess she's mad at me. If I had stayed, I would have continued to fall in love with him," he said as he rested his head on his knees, when there was a knock on the bedroom door. She was quite surprised and got up and went to see who it was. When she opened it, her eyes opened wide when she saw Izuku accompanied by Momo. The couple was wet. Eris, what are you doing here? She couldn't finish speaking because Momo hugged her tightly, saying, Idiot, why did you do all this to us? Eris, I. Izuku approached her, saying, How do you expect me to keep my promise if you walk away from me? I can't keep my promise if you leave. Eris wanted to speak, but her eyes watered in seconds. Izuku, tomorrow we will go home with you. Eris separated from Momo, saying, I can't go back, this is the best for me. If I come back I will end up. Momo, I don't care. If you end up falling in love with him, I don't care. I would never be angry or hate you for that. You are my sister no matter what. Eris's eyes opened slightly. Izuku, I love Momo, but I love you and Liz too, you are already part of me. You are all my family. Ethan, Bakugo, Liz, Momo, and you are all I have and need to be happy. I cannot function without any of you. Our group, the group we formed, cannot function without one of you. That's why. Bakugo, if you don't want to come back then. Ethan, we will stay with you until the end. Liz, because we are your friends and your family. These were in the door frame, giving a slight smile to the blonde who saw how next to these were her luggage. Bakugo, either you come with us or we stay with you. Eris couldn't hold back her tears that began to fall from her cheeks. Momo, we won't leave you alone. Eris, and you can't stay, you haven't finished high school yet. They are just in their second year, and they need another year. Bakugo, and that's it, we can ask to be transferred so we can study it at the high school in this city. We wouldn't mind. Ethan, that's how crazy we are. Liz, if you don't want us to do that then come back with us. Izuku, let's go back together, and when our third year starts we'll come live here with you to start our last year here. After all, there are only a few months left until the end of this year. So what do you say? Momo and the others looked at the blonde waiting for an answer. Eris, gee good heavens, if only I hadn't come. Izuku hugged her, and then the others hugged them in a warm group hug. Eris, her voice breaking, would say, And you are crazy. I guess they won't take no for an answer. Bakugo, you know us very well. Eris, okay, I'll go back with you. Momo and the others smiled kindly at him. Eris, bring your things inside. And there are a couple of towels over there for them to dry off, they're all wet. She let out a little laugh. Ethan, well, it's raining a lot outside. On the street was a limousine, inside it was Claude's, who gave a slight smile, while he watched the water wet the windshield. Yendi. The next day everyone had breakfast together, and then returned home with Eris. Eris still couldn't believe what they were capable of doing just for her. Without a doubt that moment made her happier than ever. We can see how the young people returned home in the limousine. Momo was hugging Eris while they were asleep. Bakugo and Ethan listened to music with their headphones, while Liz rested her head on the green-haired man's shoulder, sleeping warmly. Izuku was awake, and he only had a slight smile. Claude's brat. Izuku, yes, what's wrong? Claude's, thank you for everything you did for Eris and Momo. Izuku, I didn't do anything special, like I said before, they are my family. And I would never leave any of them alone. By the way, where have you been all this time, Claude's? Claude, well? Flashback. Claude's pointed a gun at Mineta, saying, Say your last words, brat. Mineta, before I die, at least let me fulfill my last wish. Claude, okay. Hours later we can see how Claude's was with two beautiful women in a jacuzzi. Next to him was the perverted dwarf with two women. Claude's, I must admit that despite being a pervert you have good taste, he said while smoking a cigarette. After that they went on tour in an elegant limousine with several beautiful girls dressed as Playboy bunnies. Until Claude's woke up in a bed with two of the naked bunnies. In the next room was Mineta with the other two. Claude's, what happened yesterday? End of flashback. Claude's, I went to visit a relative, that's all. Izuku somewhat doubtfully would say. I see. After a long journey they arrived back at the Yaoyorozu mansion, where upon getting off Eris was greeted with a warm hug from her parents. Mr. Yaoyorozu, even though it's only been a day, I miss you so much, daughter. Eris just gave a slight smile saying, I missed you too, Dad. The others saw this happily. After leaving their things, Izuku and the others went with Eris to the amusement park, where they spent the whole day having fun together. We can see how Bakugo and Izuku were on the side of the roller coaster vomiting. Momo was hitting the green-haired boy's back and Liz was hitting Bakugo's back. Ethan and Eris just laughed at the scene. As night fell, the friends found themselves walking along a beach under the bright moonlight. They stopped at a certain point because they had bought small fireworks and lit them together. Just then a couple was walking along the beach. Momo saw the couple and asked them to take a photo of all of them. The couple accepted, taking a group photo of everyone, where Bakugo was cheating on Izuku, Ethan on Bakugo, Eris on Momo, Liz on Eris, Momo on Liz, and Izuku on Ethan. After that fun moment, the young people sat on the sand of the beach to contemplate the beautiful view of the sea at night. Momo rested her head on Izuku's right shoulder, while Eris rested her head on Izuku's other shoulder. Liz rested her head on Bakugo's shoulder. The friends remained in a pleasant silence, enjoying each other's company. You never know what destiny awaits each of us, but for nothing in the world would I change these memories that I made with them, because there will be no destiny that can separate us. Because if one of us walks away, then we will follow, so that he is not alone. As I said before, neither of us can function without the other. The green-haired boy lovingly took the brunette's hand, who looked at him and gave him a warm smile. And so our days passed until our graduation came. We all graduated together. And even though the days have passed, we are still inseparable. Time skip. We can see how a certain brunette was standing next to a limousine. She had a beautiful blue dress with black roses. Next to her was Ethan in a smart suit. Liz, hurry up, Bakugo, we're going to be late for the wedding. A blond man came out of his apartment saying, I'm coming, don't shout. He said as he walked and adjusted his suit. Liz approached him saying you are hopeless. He grabbed him by the tie and began to straighten it. Bakugo just looked into her eyes. Liz noticed this by asking, What's happening? Don't tell me you fell in love with me again, he said with a tender smile. Bakugo, shut up, idiot. Liz grabbed his hand saying, It's time to go. Ethan just laughed saying, You better listen to her, you know how she is when she gets angry. Bakugo, you can say that again. Liz, we're ready now, Claudes. Claudes, hold on tight. He has accelerated to reach the church. Bakugo was the best man after winning a bet against Ethan. The godmother was Eris. Upon arriving at the church, Bakugo stood in his position. Eris, seeing her friends, greeted them with a warm smile. Izuku was already at the altar, somewhat nervous, when the doors of the church opened wide, revealing the beautiful bride. Her father walked her down the aisle with a big smile. Momo really looked beautiful in her wedding dress. Izuku blushed hard when he saw her. Mr. Yaoyorozu left with his wife, who noticed that her husband was already crying before they were married. The priest proceeded to say the words, to finally say the words that everyone wanted to hear. Priest, may kiss the bride. Izuku slowly approached, lifting her veil and seeing those beautiful eyes that had made him fall in love. Momo looked at him tenderly with a pink tint on her cheeks. Izuku gave a warm kiss on the lips to the woman who had finally become his wife. Inko cried with happiness along with her friend Mitsuki. As she left the church, the bride threw her bouquet of flowers, which Liz caught. Bakugo, seeing Liz, smiled slightly and said, Yo. Well, to you? Liz intertwined her hand with his, saying, Yes, I would love to marry you. After all, who else could put up with you? He gave her a warm smile. The blonde hugged her tightly, saying, Thank you. Ethan just watched the scene happily. I'll give you some advice: if you ever tell a lie like ours, be careful, because you might fall in love with it. And who knows, maybe later you can say that it was the best lie you could ever tell in your life. And I, Izuku Midoriya, decided to help her with her lie without knowing that at the end of the day I would end up falling in love with that lie, and together with her we made that lie come true, a reality that I will love every one day of my life until my heart stops beating. But if I had to tell that lie again, then I would say it over and over and over again without getting tired of it. But it was nice to remember all those beautiful moments again. 1 year later. We can see how Izuku slowly opened his eyes, these little by little adjusted to the light of the place. He noticed how he was in a hospital room. He slightly turned his gaze, seeing how next to him Bakugo, Liz and Ethan were asleep on a sofa. And on the other side was Momo, who was asleep holding the freckled boy's hand. Izuku slowly moved his fingers, causing the brunette to wake up. Momo rubbed her eyes, seeing how the green-haired boy had woken up. The brunette's eyes crystallized, releasing several tears. She covered her mouth, saying, "And you woke up?" Without thinking, Momo hugged him as if there was no tomorrow. "Momo, I knew you wouldn't leave us." The voice of the brunette woke up the others who, upon seeing their green-haired friend awake, couldn't help but shed several tears of happiness. They hugged their friend who didn't know what was happening. Days later we can see how Izuku left the hospital accompanied by Momo. Both got into a limousine. While they went to their destination, Momo tenderly held his hand. Izuku looked out the vehicle window. "Apparently a year ago I had an accident that left me in a coma for the entire time. I just don't remember exactly how it happened, but what I do know is that my friends were by my side every day without fail. I think I couldn't feel luckier." They arrived at a mansion smaller than Momo's parents' house. Izuku was standing and opened the door only to find Bakugo, Ethan, Liz and Eris, who upon seeing him smiled warmly, saying, "Welcome home, Izuku." Izuku's eyes watered at the scene, and he could see how Eris was carrying a little 1-year-old girl in her arms. "Izuku, and that baby?" Momo took the girl in her arms, saying, "This silly guy is our little Narumi." She approached Izuku, saying, "And she has waited a whole year for her father to hold her in his arms to pamper her." Several tears fell from his cheeks as he held his little daughter for the first time. He looked up, seeing Momo, saying, "He looks a lot like you." "Yes, she's beautiful." The green-haired man's voice began to break. Hey daddy's princess, I promise you that from today I will not leave you alone for even a second. Dad will love you more than anyone," he said to his little girl in his arms. He raised his gaze, and with a smile and several tears on his cheeks he looked at everyone, saying, "I'm already at home, family." Spin-off. Voice: "Why can't you be like your brother? You are the disgrace of the Delavier family. I regret from the bottom of my heart having given birth to you." Voice: "You are not my son. Since I was little I could never feel the love of a mother, nor could I hear, 'I am very proud of you,' from my father. In his eyes I was always the black sheep of the family. I remember that in high school I had a classmate that I liked so much. At that time she was the only one who talked to me despite all the rumors that were circulating about me. I admit that at that time I was not a good example. At 13 years old I hung out with people who were on the wrong path. I always did poorly in my studies. I didn't understand many things. I had to steal to be able to get things to be able to study, since my parents left me with my aunt who was never home. Well, she had an indecent job at night. She never paid attention to me. It was as if I had no one by my side. Maybe I did so many bad things to try to get my parents' attention. I just wanted some of the attention they gave my older brother. I can still remember her beautiful eyes, the color of her hair and her beautiful smile. I was definitely very much in love with her. She was the only one who treated me well, the only person who wasn't afraid of me. He always talked to me and explained things I didn't understand. He was always encouraging me to give a better version of myself. But sometimes in love we are not always reciprocated. We cannot always be liked by that person, and damn, I swear it hurt when she told me she was in love with my brother. It was always him. "You look like him. He's good at this, he accomplished this, him. I can't be him, I'd rather die than be him." Everyone describes him as the best person, but in reality, his mere presence and way of thinking disgusts me. That's why when I found out that she and he started dating, it was like a bucket of cold water that brought me back to reality. I was frustrated, but I was happy for her. At least she would be happy with him, right? Or so I wanted to believe for a while. But a month after I dropped out of high school, I found out that my brother and she had broken up, and she even transferred to another high school and moved to another city. The last time I saw her, we spoke little to nothing, as our conversation always revolved around my brother, so much so that it was best to put distance between the two of us. One day, when I was walking down an alley in the city, I had the bad luck to see my brother's little group pass before my eyes. I wasn't going to say anything to him, but seconds later, anger filled me when I heard him proudly say that he was able to buck her as long as he wanted and then leave her. She was in love with me. How pathetic she was. I just wanted to have sex with her and nothing more. What an idiot she is for falling in love, were the words that came out of that bastard's mouth. Don't buck with me, you piece of shit, as if you've never been in love. You can't choose who to fall in love with, you just fall in love and that's it. Do you think she chose to fall in love with you, human trash? Only I knew my brother's true personality. He only played with other people's feelings, he never took them seriously. That's why that day I couldn't control myself any longer, and I disfigured his face by hitting him. His friends got involved, and they ended up badly too. I was only able to stop hitting them when some police officers stopped me and threw me to the ground. That day I guess I acted badly. I spent more than 6 months in a juvenile prison. My family was never meant to come see me, and thank goodness, because the last thing I wanted was to see their faces. I found out that my brother had to have more than 180 stitches in his face. That bastard deserved it. I never regretted that. I thought I would be in that place all the time until one day. A very young, elegantly dressed gentleman visited me, and he was the first one who took the time to listen to the reason why I had done that. When I told him everything, I didn't expect him to believe me or anything, but his words were quite the opposite. Voice: although what you did was wrong, I don't think so, rather, she deserved that beating. You don't play with a lady's heart. I guess if I had been in your place I would have done the same thing, but I would have probably gotten hit several times in the process. That person smiled kindly at me, did not scold me or try to change my way of thinking. Then he left, and after several minutes he returned with the guards of the place, and that day they set me free. As I walked out I could see a large, elegant limousine waiting for us. He just turned to look at me and introduced himself to me, saying, "I am Momo Yaoyorozu." That day he took me to his house, or rather to his mansion, and took me as a member of his family. He didn't care about my past or what I had done. He introduced me to his wife. She was a light in my life. She welcomed me with a motherly hug so warm that I couldn't hold back my tears. They never gave up on me. They helped me finish my studies. They hired me the best private teachers. They bought me clothes. They gave me the love and affection of a family. Eventually they had their first daughter, and when they got home with her they let me hold her in my arms. I still remember when her little minutes touched my cheeks while she laughed. I could feel my heart filled with happiness, and a strong desire to protect her grew within me. Little Momo grew slowly, and with it my love and affection for her and her family. When I graduated from my studies, Mr. Yaoyorozu and Mrs. Yaoyorozu went to my graduation. They hugged me tightly while crying with joy. "Mr. Yaoyorozu, I'm proud of you, my boy." Those words healed that broken heart. He was the father I never had. I studied so hard because I didn't want to disappoint him. "Mrs. Yaoyorozu, my little Claudes, I am very, very proud of you." I was fortunate to be blessed by that beautiful family. Some time later I graduated as an English teacher, and I can speak more than 8 languages. But I didn't want to alienate my family, so I trained and became Miss Momo's bodyguard. I swear to myself that I wouldn't let anyone hurt her or make her cry. So when I found out she had gotten a boyfriend I couldn't help but I felt afraid that she would get hurt. That's why I was so rude to that green-haired boy. I didn't want him to play with my little Momo's feelings, but when I saw him jump into the pool to save her, I realized that at that moment, even though he didn't realize it, he had fallen in love with Miss Momo. He's a good boy and I know he'll take care of her with all his heart. I'm leaving her in your hands, boy. Please love her and take care of her like I did," Claude said as he watched the raven-haired girl walk down the aisle accompanied by her father on her wedding day. Bakugo was the best man after winning a bet against Ethan. Izuku could see how Claude showed him a slight smile, while he wiped away his tears as he was crying from emotion. Momo turned to look at him, and only gave a slight smile to go, and give him a big hug since he was like her older brother since he had taken care of her since she was little. Claude just hugged her tightly to say, "You look very, very beautiful, Miss Momo. And if that brat makes you cry one day, just let me know," he said while loading a gun. The brunette just let out a small laugh since she knew that was the way he showed his love and affection. "I never knew anything about my real family, and I don't care either since my real family is this one. I would give my life for them." This was brought to reality when a small, sweet voice said to him, Uncle Claude, can you hear me?" Claude looked down at a little ebony-haired girl with emerald eyes, about 5 years old. Claude knelt down and with a slight smile said, "Forgive me, my little Princess Narumi, your uncle was remembering the past." "What were you telling me?" "Narumi, what if you buy me an ice cream?" she said, pointing to a small ice cream cart. "Claude, of course," he responded by stroking his head tenderly. On the way home, Narumi was happily eating her ice cream, sitting in the front seat. "Narumi, Uncle Claude, when are you going to get married like Mommy and Daddy did?" she asked innocently. Claude just gave a slight smile saying, "I guess when I find the right person." "Narumi, so you never fell in love?" "Claude, of course I did, Princess. But that was a long, long time ago." "Narumi, and where is she?" "Claude, I don't know. But I just hope she's better wherever she is." While in another part we can see how several boys left the classroom, leaving only the classroom teacher. That teacher looked at a photo she always had with her, and in it you could see a young Claude next to her. Below the photo there was a phrase that said, "Laughter is the best medicine after all." At that point one of her students would say, Ms. Joke, are you not coming with us?" That beautiful green-haired girl would say, "Yes, I'm going with you," he replied, putting away the photo with a slight smile.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.